Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Vayeishev. You know that there's certain things that we never thought would happen. It didn't cross our mind. One is on Yom Kippur when we say Unesanah Tokef, we say Mi Yichya Umi Yomas. Who in the coming year is going to die and who will live? Who's going to be by fire? Who's going to die by water? Who's going to die by sword? But there was another one. Unlike those that we thought, okay, people die in fires, people drown, there's fights, there's battles. But who's going to die by bamagaifa? This is the 21st century. America has amazing technology. We have science. What's a plague got to do? That's for third world companies. Along came 2020, COVID-19, and we see millions of Americans, that great technological country, died by bamagaifa. When a frum Jew thinks about the word Tinok Shenishbah, they think of it kind of figuratively, that it's for the 21st century, that it's a person who's come from a non-religious family, doesn't know any better. So it's like a captive who's taken by the Gentiles, doesn't know anything about Judaism. They can't be punished for their mistakes, for their sins. But now in 2021, who would have expected that it's literal? We suffered in October, Tinok Shenishbah, 9-month-old babies, 3-year-old babies, 4-year-old babies by barbaric savages from Gaza in the 21st century. Things we didn't think would happen can happen. What's it doing in Parshas Vayeishev is connected to the Parsha because Yosef was sold as an eved, as a slave. And that's a captive. That's a prisoner. Okay, he's not a Tinok anymore. He was 17 years old. But a slave nonetheless. So we have something to connect to the Parsha. Now, Yosef, despite that, he became the leader of Egypt, the second in command. He became the great Yosef HaTzadik, even though he was a Tinok, or he was a Nishbah. Now, this brings me to the next topic. Is I saw in the Rabbi Yechiel Spiro's book, The Spark Within, and in the introduction talks about Reb Shlomo Wolbe, who was a Baal Tshuva. It was 1914 to 2005, yes, and from whose farm I've shared Divrei Torah in the past. And he was born in Berlin. He was German, and therefore he wasn't able to go with the rest of the Yadmir Yeshiva to Shanghai. And he accepted an offer to go to the Lehman family in Sweden and teach the child Torah. Eventually, he became the mashgiach in Eretz Yisrael in Yeshiva's Be'er Yakov. And that's where our story now takes us. There was another Swedish boy, and he wanted to become a Talmud in the Yeshiva Be'er Yakov, but he didn't know anything. He came from a secular family. Yet Reb Shlomo Wolbe accepted him. Why? Because he was mavakesh. He was a seeker. He wanted to learn Torah. And within 2 years, he was one of the best Talmidim in the whole yeshiva. And the from birth crew was like a little bit bothered. And they went to the Rosh Yeshiva. How is that in 2 years, he's able to match and even exceed some of us? So the mashgiach said, ask him himself. So they went to the Swede and he said, there's a concept in Judaism, as we discussed, called a Tinok Shenishbah, a Jew from an irreligious family. But despite that, I had this hunger to learn Torah. And therefore he learned and he learned. He goes, but I'm not the only Tinok Shenishbah in the yeshiva here. And they're looking, what do you mean? He goes, you're Tinok Shenishbah. You are all that. Again, what does he mean by this? So he explained, because if you look in the Navi, in Yeshaya Navi, Chavtes Yud Gimel 29, chapter 29, verse 13, there's something called mitzvahs anasim ulumada. He says, you FFBs, he didn't call them that by name, but you have grown accustomed to performing mitzvahs, learning Torah. You're mechanical. You're like robots. You don't even think. and therefore you don't love the Torah the same way that I do, and you don't grow. He says, I knew I was a Tinok Shenishbah, so I was able to do something about it. So we have to realize that, who we are, we're in this situation. If we've hit a point where we've kind of plateaued, or we're doing mitzvahs without thinking, we're learning Torah without thinking. So we have to take that to the next step. We have to find the spark in ourselves, and we have to take a little bit, whether it's a little bit extra every day or every week or even every month, take something to grow in Torah and develop, and then we can see greatness. Maybe we won't be a Yosef, a tzaddik, but we can all grow and take it to the next step. Just like we've talked recently about the Yakov's ladder, that you grow one step at a time. You don't take giant leaps and bounds. And finally, let's not leave being a Baal Tshuva to someone who comes from an irreligious family. We all have to realize that we all sin, and we all have to be Baal Tshuva. So thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.